What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Jeffrey Cooperstein here. Hope everyone is enjoying their Wednesday so far. The Mavericks play the Heat tonight. I'll be in the building at the American Airlines Center, so come say what's up if you see me, and we'll talk some Mavs basketball. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about Giannis Antetokounmpo and whether or not the Mavericks could be a potential player for Giannis. According to Brian Windhorst, Giannis reportedly requested a trade from the Milwaukee Bucks prior to the season beginning. And if you've been following the Bucks this year, it's been an absolute disaster for that team. They have lost 8 of their last 9 games. They had a 7-game losing streak, and they also, like the Dallas Mavericks, lost to the Washington Wizards. So the Wizards have 3 wins on the season. 2 of those wins come from the Milwaukee Bucks and the Dallas Mavericks. And when the Giannis trade rumors originally surfaced, the Mavericks have always been rumored as a potential destination for him. And this goes back years and years, back to the relationship with Donnie Nelson, because Donnie Nelson obviously has deep ties in Europe, and he was the one in the Mavericks front office who was banging on the table for the Mavericks to draft Giannis. What did they do? They ended up trading back, selecting Shane Larkin, and we all know that the rest is history, and Giannis has become a top probably 25 player of all time. And the Mavericks had their shot to take Giannis over 10 years ago, and now they could potentially have their shot to go get Giannis again. And I want to get out front and saying this. I don't think this scenario is very likely at all. I don't think Giannis will become a Dallas Maverick, and I think that there are just too many factors going in the opposite direction for Giannis to choose Dallas as his next destination. Before we get into everything surrounding Giannis, let me know. Will the Mavericks end up landing Giannis? Y for yes and for no down there in the comment section. I think a couple of things in the Mavericks' favor when it comes to Giannis is I think he likes the small market feel of a team like the Mavericks. And obviously the Mavericks are not a small market team. In fact, they're a top 5 market team in the NBA. But they do have that small market feel. It's not New York. It's not LA. It's not Chicago. It's not Miami as far as the NBA goes, where the media pressure is constantly on you no matter what you're doing. Here in Dallas, you can kind of live your life. You can kind of stay out of the spotlight, and you can kind of just operate as you would before. And that's kind of like what Kyrie Irving really likes about Dallas is he's not under constant media pressure like he was in Brooklyn for whatever reason. And obviously Kyrie brought some of that upon himself, but I think Giannis would thrive in a situation like Dallas where he would just be able to go home, go to his family. He would not have to have the constant eyes on him at all times. And I could see him thriving in a situation like Dallas with the Mavericks. Now, there are other potential destinations that I think Giannis might be more suited for. You look at the San Antonio Spurs, who have all their young players and all their picks. You look at the New York Knicks, who have been the team who has been most recently rumored that Giannis wants to go to, and if he does get traded to the Bucks, most people think it will be the New York Knicks that end up with Giannis. You look at the Brooklyn Nets, who have all the picks in the world and a couple of young players. You look at the Miami Heat, who could absolutely make a potential play for Giannis. So I would say you have the 2 New York teams, you have the Heat, then you have the Spurs, and you have the Mavericks as the potential Giannis destinations. Now, the question you'll have to ask yourself, and the question Milwaukee will have to ask themselves, is if they are ready to move on with a Giannis trade, are they taking Anthony Davis? Or are the Mavericks going to end up rerouting AD to a different team? That will absolutely have to be a part of the equation, because any trade involving Giannis coming to the Mavericks means AD is gone. And the Mavericks would do it, obviously, without hesitation there. But I don't know if the Milwaukee Bucks would be willing to take on Anthony Davis and whatever picks you want to throw at Milwaukee to make a deal happen. I think there are other teams that can offer more attractive packages to Milwaukee to make this Giannis deal happen. I think at the end of the day, though, Milwaukee doesn't want to trade Giannis. Like, they want to keep him for as long as humanly possible. I think they could have traded him this offseason if they really wanted to, and it sounds like Giannis requested that trade prior to the season, according to Windhorst. So we'll see if the Mavericks are actually going to be players in a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes, but it is absolutely something worth monitoring that the Mavs could potentially be in play for him if he becomes available. Obviously, officially, he is not available as of yet, and you know that there will be multiple teams looking for potential, deals and looking for potential ways to acquire an all-time great player. I mean, you can't rule out the Los Angeles Lakers and Rob Pelinka either for making a splash deal. So there's at least 5 or 6 teams that would be in the sweepstakes to acquire Giannis, but I do think the Mavericks would be one of them. We'll get to the rest of today's show here in just a moment, but today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. It's the absolute best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, all happening at once. You and I are making decisions on what to eat, which game to watch, what gifts to buy, but there's one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. I've been absolutely loving playing PrizePicks, watching Mavericks games. Cooper flag, points, rebounds, assists, free throws, turnovers, basically any stat you can project on PrizePicks, and it's super easy to play. All you do is pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, go more or less, and you can watch your winnings roll in. You can play it in over 40 states, including California, Georgia, and Texas, and they also put their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, and Cash App for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season, and they do have a new feature as well. They're offering early payouts, meaning if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you could have the option to cash that lineup in before the game even ends. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS for $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, that is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it is good to be right. Now, the Mavericks would have to ask themselves the question of whether or not they want to go get Giannis with what their timeline is. I said last week on the show that every single roster move that the Mavericks make over the next 12 months needs to be geared toward the Cooper flag timeline. What is the Cooper flag timeline? We don't exactly know yet, but the better he's playing, the faster that timeline is and the acceleration of that timeline begins. Now, does acquiring Giannis fit into that timeline? Not necessarily, but if the Mavericks are at the front of the queue to go get him and Giannis is open to doing it, the Mavericks really don't have any choice but to go get Giannis. And I don't think they would trade Cooper flag for him. I don't think that would be part of the deal. But it would be AD, whatever other pieces they want, and a couple first-round picks. I don't think you're giving up on the Cooper flag timeline. Look, the Mavericks learned their lesson, in the most terrible way possible by making the worst trade in NBA history, is that you don't give up on young talent like that. You just don't do it. And I don't think they're going to make the same mistake twice, especially since the guy who made that mistake is no longer in town. I do think they learned from that, and they are going to try to give Cooper Flag all of the resources possible in order to make this team as successful as possible, as soon as possible. I don't know if the Mavericks are going to do anything this year. In fact, chances are they probably won't do anything this year. But I do think they have become, over the last week, 2 weeks, a much more respectable team than they were earlier in the season. They're getting a little bit healthier. Anthony Davis had a great game against the Nuggets the other night. They have found a point guard in Ryan Nembhard who can be a part of the future going forward. And so I do think that the timeline of this team is trending in the right direction. But when you have a chance, if they have a chance to acquire a superstar like Giannis, I think you go do it and you don't ask questions. Like, you ask questions later. That's why the Lakers went out and acquired Luka, because they had a chance to do it. You ask questions later. And that's what they did. And now we're sitting here almost 9 months, 10 months later, trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do with this franchise. So if the Mavericks are gifted this golden opportunity of a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo trade, they have to jump on it. They have to be aggressive, and they have to try to go do it. Again, if you scale it from 1 to 100, how likely it is that Giannis becomes a Maverick, I would put it at like a 3 or a 4. This is all extremely preliminary. I'm just going off of the report, what Brian Windhorst said, that he has already requested a trade. And if he is, the Mavericks would be doing a disservice to this organization if they haven't, at minimum, done their due diligence on what it would take to go get Giannis in a Mavericks uniform. That's all I'm saying. One more time, the Mavericks do play the Heat tonight, 7:40 p.m. tip-off, so we'll have you up to date with anything that happens surrounding that game. But without further ado, that will do it for today's show, guys. We will see you soon with another video, and if Giannis gets traded to the Mavericks, we'll be going live. So hit that subscribe button at youtube.com/MavsTV, and we'll see you guys soon here on the channel.